Statements and responses will be timed by members of the League of Women Voters who use countdown paddles visible to the candidates. I will enforce the time limits and will ask you to use your allocated time, but please do not go over. Audience rules apply as well. Questions come from the audience. Only written questions will be used. Volunteers have index cards, and they could use some more questions if you don't mind, please. The questions must be addressed to all candidates. Questions posed to specific candidates will not be used. The League of Women Voter members will review questions for appropriateness and to avoid duplication. They're sitting over here. Out of courtesy to the candidates and other members of the audience, please turn off all electronic devices. Finally, please refrain from applauding or demonstrating in other ways in support or non-support of a candidate. No voice, image, or other duplication of the form may be used by a candidate's representative or campaign in any campaign advertising. And we would also ask you to not do any video or audio taping of this event on your own. A table outside of this room has been provided for campaign literature. So we will start with opening statements by Marc Incrocci.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you putting this on for us. It's hard to get your information out to the voters these days, and I appreciate everyone coming out to be informed. That's fantastic in today's society. My purpose of running for the College of DuPage started a couple of years ago when I started looking at trade programs that don't exist anymore in our society. I've been in the trucking industry for 25 years. I'm the Director of Organizational Development for a trucking company, over 100 million plus organization, and we can't hire truck drivers. I've been born and raised in DuPage County, born and raised in Lombard, live in Darien with my wife and 3 boys, and I have my master's from Benedictine University in change management. So I started down this path of if you can't hire truck drivers because they're not there, we need to train people. I love training. I've been in training and development of leaders throughout my career, and realize it's not just trucking. We have a problem in our society of all the trades. Tool and die manufacturers are turning work down because they're all retiring, and we haven't had young people coming into the trades for about 3 decades now. And I believe COD has the infrastructure that can put trade programs back in place for young people, working with local trade employers with a high demand for those positions. And I started advocating 2 years ago with the board, and they started actually putting programs together. We'll be rolling out something pretty soon. I don't think I can talk about it yet, but it's just the beginning, and we have so much more work to do for these young individuals. And so that's when this position became available. I thought I could make a big impact for the students of COD and COD itself in our community.
Thank you. Ms. Dunn.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Maureen Dunne. I was born and raised in Downers Grove. I attended Downers Grove South High School, where I graduated early as a junior. And after high school, I attended the College of DuPage, so I'm an alum, where I was very, very fortunate to become the first ever community college graduate in history to be named a Rhodes Scholar. I'm also the mom of triplets. I have 2 identical girls and a boy. And I received my PhD in the Cognitive and Learning Sciences on the Rhodes Scholarship from the University of Oxford. I then completed a fellowship from Harvard and MIT. I also have a lot of classroom teaching experience. And over the past decade, I've run lean technology business operations in the private sector. I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets. And I've amassed significant real-world experience that would bring, I believe, a highly informed perspective to the Board of Trustees, particularly considering some of the major initiatives that the college is in the process of implementing, including Innovation DuPage, the STEM Center, and the Guided Pathways program. I've been, over the last 18 months, working on accessing private sector funding and grants to upgrade the technology and science resources at College of DuPage in a way that won't in any way increase taxpayers' burden, and I also set up a scholarship for students with autism. And in fact, just yesterday, I'm really super excited because I found out the first grant I applied for has been awarded by the Discovery Partners Institute, which is part of the University of Illinois system. Super, super competitive grant, and I will be the principal investigator and leader of a statewide initiative to strengthen the technology pipeline in the state of Illinois and include people with disabilities. And the really exciting part of that grant is that it will also include private funding for COD students and will also benefit our local high schools with free coding boot camps, and which will partner with COD. I believe I am particularly uniquely qualified to serve in the COD Board of Trustees because I have very strong credentials in academia and business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Yes. Ms. Corrigan.
Yes, Annette Corrigan.
Corrigan.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Annette Corrigan, and I am a resident of Wheaton. I'm the mother of 4 children, 2 who have been students at COD, and my other 2 who are in high school will be also students at COD. I've been in this District 502 for 28 years. I received my undergraduate and law school degree at Marquette University. I decided to run for the College DuPage because I've been an active member of this community for all of those 28 years, beginning with the Big Brothers Big Sisters Board of DuPage County. I was also very involved and continue to be with the Boy Scouts troop that my 2 boys have been in, and I wanted to continue to give back. I think I have the skill set that it will take because I know what the values and the interests are of this community. I can identify and keep in mind while I'm on the board all of the stakeholders' interests, not only the faculty and the students, but the business owners in our community and the taxpayers. I think I can identify with all of them. I have sound and strong commitments and ties with the business community. What made me decide to run for this is I was very happy with how the former board, or really some of them are still on the board, how they really resolved a lot of the issues that were taking place 4 years ago. And I wanted to continue to see that path followed. And so I'm interested in getting on the board and following that path and making sure we continue to be in sound financial shape. I also have a son with developmental disabilities who was unable to be a student at College of DuPage when we were looking for higher education for him. He does have significant learning disabilities, and while other colleges and universities throughout the country have established those programs, COD did not have one for him. So when this opportunity came up, I thought this was something I could make a difference in. There's a very significant need in our community for people who want to continue their education like my son. And so for all those reasons, I decided to run.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for coming out today and the League of Women Voters for all you do to promote democracy and attention to local elections. I'm running for this spot on the College of DuPage Board of Trustee because I, too, want to make sure that everyone, the students, the faculty, area business owners, and we taxpayers know that COD is managed effectively to benefit all of us. I'm also running because COD has always been there for me. I've gone to COD over various times and for various reasons over more than 30 years. And as a child or a teenager, I had this dream of becoming a doctor and helping the underserved. Now, I ended up on the railroad. Good wages, long, crazy hours. After 31 years, I couldn't handle on-call 24/6 and 24/7 anymore, so I was able to go back to COD, become a registered nurse, and then I was able to work in a free clinic. So I achieved my dream because COD was excellent education, it was affordable, and it was accessible. So my goal is to make sure all these 3 are available for everyone else. I want it accessible, affordable, and remaining excellent in education. That's my goal. That's why I'm running. I've also been watching COD for a long time, since before 2005, and I approve of a lot of the changes that have happened recently, yet there are some things that need some attention. There is an avoidance of transparency and avoidance of the democratic process by the board, as evidenced in the resignation and appointment of Heidi Holland. And there are some other things I'd like to work on that would be positive. I'd like to also work on expanding 3+1 and 2+2 programs. And
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll start with questions from the audience, and we will start those with Ms. Dunn. What characteristics would you look for when hiring the next president of College of DuPage?
That's a question I've thought a lot about because I think the College of DuPage is currently at a crossroads and I'd like to see it to go in the right direction. So the main qualities I'd like to see are integrity, vision, and the ability to provide academic leadership. I'd also like to see stability and long-term commitment to increasing enrollment, which we all know has been a challenge at College of DuPage, and student success. Obviously, fiscal responsibility and transparency are absolutely essential. I consider those bare minimal requirements. I think we should be asking more of our president. And personally, I'd like to see our president embrace and partner with the local entrepreneurs and innovators in the area. As someone who's run technology companies in the past, I have deep exposure to how the employment landscape is rapidly evolving and how technology advancements marching out of the labs are going to transform our communities. And I really think that it's important that the college can become this community resource for retooling schools throughout one's lifetime. It's going to be very commonplace for people to have multiple careers. And I think the new president need to be capable of understanding that. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Corrigan.
I keep forgetting the microphone. I couldn't agree more with many of the things that Ms. Dunn just articulated. And it's so important to me, the topic of who will be our next president, that I have been attending the hiring committee meetings. There have been at least 2 that have been open to the public, and I've been at both of those because I think it's such a critical issue. It's the #1 issue right now for the college. And I do agree that that individual should have some higher education experience. I think understanding and having a relationship with each of the stakeholders that I talked about earlier is so important. You have to be able to maneuver all of those different interests and balance all of them. I think it's critical. It came up in the meetings that having access and presence with our legislatures down in Springfield is critical. I think that's very important. I didn't think of that one until I was in those meetings. So, of course, a person of integrity. Of course, a person who's financially responsible in their decision-making. All of those same things.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey.
Well, I agree with a lot of that too. I want someone who has a history of getting along and working well together with all the stakeholders in the past institution. Wanted to bring that forward into this institution. Of course, I want somebody who has a management background, so because there's a lot of management that goes on, and an academic background, so that he can understand what the teachers and staff and the deans want, what they're striving for. And I want someone who would embrace and promote diversity in both students and staff, women, people of color, LGBTQ, people with disabilities, undocumented, and that will look forward to the kinds of job training that we have to have for the coming in the 21st century. We're going to have to be quickly changing the educational projects to match job needs.
Thank you. Mr. Incrocci.
Thank you. I've done a lot of leadership training. I've hired multiple leaders in many ranks of an organization. And this is the hardest part. I don't like interviewing for jobs and I don't like hiring people either. It's not an easy task to see if someone's going to be worth their salt in an hour conversation or multiple conversations. But you learn over time, you can hone your gut, and what I look for is a servant leader. Someone with humility, someone who can, as it was said, network within the organization. They're no greater than anybody else within that organization. Anybody can be a leader, all you need is followers. The difference is you want a leader who people want to follow. And that's the type of leader we need at COD. And very crucial is stability. This person has to be committed. We've seen some great change in the organization, but we can't keep having the turnover at the top. We have to have somebody that's looking for a home at COD and longevity.
Thank you. The next question will start with Ms. Corrigan. And this is just a quick yes or no from everybody for COD. Have you attended COD board meetings either in person or by viewing them online?
Yes, I've been attending since last fall.
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Bailey?
Yes, 2015 and this year.
Thank you. Mr. Incrocci?
Yes, for the past 2 years.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Dunn?
Yes, as an alum, I have a 25-plus year relationship with the college, and so it's been attending meetings and the past year, many meetings, and then I've watched them all online as well.
All right, thank you very much. So that was a quickie, so I'm going to go back to, again, starting with Ms. Corrigan. What plan would you propose to boost the college's declining enrollment?
I would like to start with the very first one that drew me into this race, and that is I really want to help and be an ambassador for the program that has finally been instituted by the college. It's called the Coach Program for people with developmental disabilities, and there's 3 prongs to it. They develop the skills, they have a skill arm to it, they've also got the vocational part to it, and they've got the career development part to it, and I'd like to continue to see that grow. They're about 10 years behind in developing that program. I also agree that we have a vocational skills need in our, as Mr. Incrocci said earlier, we do have a need there. I'm one of 7 children in my family. My parents really, they didn't have the college experiences that we did, and they gave it to all of us had the opportunity. 2 of my brothers did try pursuing college, and it wasn't for them, and they did go back to the trades and found very fulfilling and lucrative positions there. I think we really need to pursue that. So finding other programs.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey.
Okay, first off, I'd like to say that there's a lot of people in our communities that are not using COD that could, and we want to reach out to them. The immigrants, undocumented, let's say, we want to make them feel more welcome and find out from them and from others like developmentally disabled, people with disabilities, etc., what they need, and make sure that they feel that they will get that when they come to COD. Another thing, another track would be to market COD as a fast track to a good job and a good life, good education for a reasonable cost. The 3+1 program, 1+3 programs, and 2+2 programs, and also towards a fast way to get to a good paying job, a good paying middle class job through our training programs, our workforce development programs.
Thank you. Mr. Incrocci.
You know, the growth of enrollment is important. The way we go about it is plugging in additional classes with existing infrastructure. COD has buildings for the trades. And working with the trade employers, we can put together programs where students can come to COD, they can go through classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they can work at that trade employer Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they get paid while they go through these classes. On top of that, trade employers right now, and many people don't know this, they're doing sign-on bonuses because they can't hire people. So why not take that money instead of using a sign-on bonus, but use it to pay for the students' classes? And then they can graduate without the college debt and have a job already in place ready for them. Those are the type of programs we need to be put in place. COD has a great foundation of stepstoning yourself to a 4-year university, but 4-year degree isn't for everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Dunn.
This is a question I've put a lot of thought about, because I think it's one of the biggest challenges that COD faces. I'll go over a couple of my ideas. One, over the past year and a half, I'd already, before I decided to run for this position, was working with STEM faculty and administrators of how do we upgrade the STEM programming in a way, with private money and grant funding with the idea that, we need to always keep in mind that we want to be preparing students for careers that are going to still exist in 5-10 years. So I've been working on that. I also think there's huge opportunities with increasing some of the online program. That's something I have experience with. Also being an alum myself, part of the honors program, I personally saved over $100,000 by transferring to the University of Chicago. So I think there's an opportunity to market to honors students that want to go for 4-year schools. The autism program has been an expanding program. There's an opportunity there, and then also there's opportunities for students in remedial math and lifelong learning.
Thank you. I think this might be a good follow-up question to that, and we'll start with Mr. Bailey. Is the board considering a reduction in tuition and/or fees? If not, why not?
I'm not aware of the board considering a tuition reduction but they have done some reduction over the past couple of years. If one of my goals, if I get on the board of trustees, if you elect me, is to pursue ways to reduce tuition and fees, I think we should make it more affordable. When I started, the tuition was around $38 a credit hour. It's $135 now. I think we need to go back and however we can to the $28 goal. And I think that to do that, I don't want to raise property taxes. I think that we need to go and ask the state and the federal government to do things like they used to do and pony up for this investment in our communities and our youth, in the people of the country. We need to invest. If we care about them, we need to invest. And that would be the more appropriate place to get the funds.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Incrocci?
Yeah, I believe the board has reduced tuition. I think they made an increase, I think it was $1 a credit hour recently. But it's economics. You have the existing infrastructure, there's costs involved, and with the declining enrollment, the revenue goes down, your costs are going to remain the same or go up in today's world. So you have to grow the revenue somehow. I don't want to see it come out of the taxpayers. I want to see it come out of more students, but not them having to burden the cost. And that's what I said about the trade employers helping out. There's grant money that goes unused. If we talk about the trade specifically, there's a grant worth $500 million, a federal grant, $500 million went unused and got rolled back into the federal government. We should be tapping into those resources to help the students pay for their schools. Find out who's paying the most money and call them and say, hey, why are you paying so much?
Thank you. Ms. Dunn?
Yes, so I think, two things. One is that we need to be focusing on increasing enrollment. And then before I decided to run, again, the way I was trying to give back to COD was by setting up scholarship programs, by finding, writing entire grant applications to National Science Foundation, Discovery Partners Institute, trying to find private money that will increase the resources for the students there. And so I think there are, again, there's some huge opportunities there where we won't need to raise taxes or increase tuition, but we can still achieve extraordinary things at COD if we have the right leadership on the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Corrigan?
Yes, I've been attending the meetings, as I said, and I haven't heard that they've discussed increasing tuition or fees to the students. It is cheaper today to attend college at DuPage than it was in 2014. They rolled back tuition by $9. Going forward, I do agree with several of my colleagues up here. There's untapped scholarships and grants, and so many, even my own students, my own children who are students, it's daunting to them to get online and find those resources. I propose that we have open house opportunities with the staff and with the guidance counselors, so those students can come in and they can find ways online to find that money that exists. So much goes untapped, and I think before we decide to increase tuition and before we decide to increase fees for our students, we need to find other avenues for our students to make it even more affordable. So that would be one of the plans I would put in place if I were given the opportunity.
Thank you very much. This will be the last question before we move on to closing statements. And we will start with Mr. Incrocci. What are the three most pressing issues facing the College of DuPage board?
Well, your questioning was spot on tonight as the most important issues. One is hiring the right leader who's going to work with the board and network with outside the organization, within the organization. The declining enrollment is going to be the second biggest challenge and hurdle. And then helping students cover their costs of rising tuitions. COD is competitive in the market, but that doesn't mean that we can't do better. Other states are stealing our students, essentially. They're marketing our students. We have to get creative, or they're going to keep moving, and when they move away, they're less likely to stay here in Illinois. I don't know if you realize that. So those are the three things I would hit.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Dunn?
Yes, I mean, obviously, hiring a new president, that's going to be a huge priority that the board will make a decision about, and that will affect the whole future of the College of DuPage. So that's the first one. I think number two, addressing the declining enrollment. As we discussed before, that's another major challenge that needs to be addressed. And the third one I don't think has been talked about as much, but I've thought a lot about and doing my research and looking at the college's strategic plan going forward is the fact that there are a lot of students that are at College of DuPage that show up what we would call underprepared students. Students that might be really interested in a STEM career, but they come to the college where they don't quite have the foundational math background, and that's something before I decided to run, my team had developed an AI-assisted tutoring and technology and a 3D immersive technology system. We applied for a bunch of grants that will directly benefit COD students, and so I want to focus on that programming. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not to be a broken record, but I think I said at the very beginning, number one is hiring the president, and which is why I'm spending a lot of time researching that and being informed on that topic. And number two, of course, as we've heard again, declining enrollment, which we've touched on a couple times here today. It's really important. I wonder if we could even bring more students in with some more satellite opportunities, satellite locations in our communities. Out on the road with the election process, I've heard from a lot of people talking about the fact that COD is in Glen Ellyn, but it's quite a distance for other people. So maybe we need some satellite opportunities for that to address that declining enrollment. And third, I don't know if all of you know this, but the teacher's contract is coming up for renewal this year. So as far as the immediate three issues that are going to be addressed by this board this year, that would be the third one. And my background, I do believe my legal background will be a benefit to the board to be able to address that topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Well, I got to agree that the president is going to be an awfully important issue. We got to get a good leader and get in and interact with him well, and also make sure we have a good lawyer, to make sure his contract does not put us in a bind like the last one did for Luder. Long-range plan, I want to make sure the college is looking forward to the jobs of the 21st century. The technology has changed. It used to change once every 50 years, once every 80 or 100 years. Now it's changing every 18 months. And that dance between the businesses that need employees and the educators to make sure things are going well will be really hard to do, and so it'll be a lot of attention. And also declining enrollment, as I said before, we want to reach out to the people who are not now using it, who need or could benefit from.
Thank you very much. So now we'll start with closing statements, and we'll start with Ms. Dunn.
Again, thank you everyone for coming today. I just want to add, that I believe that real fiscal responsibility is about understanding what is and isn't necessary in the budget. And as a corporate executive and board member, I have tremendous real-world experience in managing multi-million-dollar budgets in the private sector, where you have to get really impactful results, especially from education technology companies, and they'd had to be as lean as possible. And through my experience in academia, I think I'm in just a very unique perspective because I've basically worn every hat that would be relevant to this position. I'm an alum, I've been a faculty member, I've been an administrator, CEO, an educator, and so I personally, I've taught at universities such as Oxford, and I understand what's necessary to be successful in an educational institution, and that's why I believe I could make a really meaningful impact and have a very well-informed perspective on the Board of Trustees at COD. And I hope you consider voting for me April 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Corrigan.
I would like to thank the Glen Ellyn League of Women Voters for this event. I think it's so important that our voters have a chance to actually see us, meet us, and have a conversation. I've never run for an elected position before, but I'm pursuing this opportunity because I really truly care about ethical and effective leadership. And I care about my community. I've been here 28 years. I've been fully invested in every capacity, in every community I've been a part of, whether it's church, school, the Bar Association. I will promote financially responsible decision-making. I will be a proponent of maintaining affordability for COD tuition. I want to expand COD's outreach initiatives and programs for underserved students like those with developmental disabilities. And please consider voting for me, Annette Corrigan, on April 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bailey?
Thank you. Well, I've got some qualities that could help on the board. First off, I've been socially proactive. I've worked with the IVI IPO for many years for good government. I've got personal experience with the positive results of collective bargaining. I grew up in and I raised my children in DuPage. I have experience a lot of experience as a student and experience as an RN student, and so that could be helpful for the healthcare program. And let's see, well, forgot that point, but I'll go move on to the next one. I strongly believe in the power of education to change lives. I know it has for me. COD enabled me to completely turn my career around from locomotive engineer to registered nurse. I think I can help guide this institution to a positive future, but I need your help. And the other thing is I want to focus on making sure that students, teachers, and taxpayers are well taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Incrocci?
Well, I'd like to thank my colleagues here. When you put yourself out to run for something, this is the first time, you never know how that's going to go politically. And this has been, as you can see, it's actually been fun. We've become friends. But I really do appreciate them and their ideas. I myself have a vision. It's a vision that will help COD, but it's more of a vision for our community. For the students that don't want a four-year degree, what do? What are the options for them? And we took them away. And we have to put those options back on the table. I have a vision on how to do that. My vision includes helping them pay for it, having middle-class jobs when they're done without the debt, and it will positively impacts College of DuPage declining enrollment without increasing costs to the taxpayers. If anything, we should be able to reduce costs because we use existing infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming today. Michelle, are you going to have an announcement at the end? Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming, but I also want to thank the candidates for showing up.
Thank you all for coming on behalf of the League of Women Voters. I'd like to thank all the participants. If any of your friends or family were unable to come today, all the forms from this morning will be on our website at lwvge.org or on our Facebook page that you can watch them. And also a reminder that early voting starts Monday at a new location, the Glen Ellyn Library. So thank you all.